The stars vanished as the massive ships entered Earth's orbit. They blocked out the sun in some places, casting long shadows across cities below. People looked up in fear and wonder. No one had ever seen anything like this before. Captain John Harrison stood at the window of Earth Defense Headquarters. His face showed no emotion, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. After 20 years in the military, he had trained for many things. First contact with aliens had never been one of them. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all channels," said a young officer. John nodded. "Put it on screen." The face that appeared was not human. It had gray-blue skin, sharp ridges where eyebrows should be, and 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. When it spoke, its mouth revealed 2 rows of pointed teeth. "People of Earth, I am Fleet Commander Zarkol of the Draconian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Surrender all military forces immediately. Resistance will result in punishment." John stepped forward. "This is Captain John Harrison of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, but we do not surrender our planet to unknown visitors." The alien's upper eyes narrowed. "Unknown. The Draconians rule half the galaxy. Your ignorance confirms your primitive status. You have 6 Earth hours to reconsider." The screen went dark. "Get me the President," John said. On Mars, Lieutenant Kate Freeman was checking supplies at Outpost Delta when the attack came. No warning, no declaration of war. The first blast destroyed the main communications tower. The second hit the barracks. Kate grabbed her rifle and ran outside. The sky was filled with small, fast ships. They fired bright green beams that cut through buildings like they were made of paper. "Everyone to the emergency bunkers," she shouted, helping injured personnel move toward safety. A soldier fell beside her, hit by debris. Kate lifted him over her shoulder and kept running. The man was heavy, but fear and training gave her strength. Behind them, the outpost was being systematically destroyed. They reached the bunker just as another explosion shook the ground. Kate looked back at the burning outpost. 300 people had been stationed there. From what she could see, maybe 50 had made it to safety. The Draconians had just killed hundreds of humans without even declaring war. Back on Earth, the leadership team met in the crisis room. Generals and politicians argued while satellite images showed the destruction on Mars. "They're testing us," John said, silencing the room. "That attack wasn't meant to win the war. It was a demonstration." The President, a former military officer herself, nodded. "Captain Harrison is right. The question is, what do we do now? Their technology is clearly far beyond ours." "We fight," John said simply. "We've always fought against stronger enemies throughout our history." A general laughed without humor. "Those enemies were human, Captain. These are aliens with technology that might as well be magic to us. All technology has weaknesses," John insisted. "We need to find theirs." On the Draconian command ship, Fleet Commander Zarkol received the report from the Mars attack. "Excellent," he said. "Now they understand our power. Their surrender will come soon." His second-in-command, Commander Vrakthar, looked less certain. The attack went as planned, but sensors detected something unusual. Some humans deliberately put themselves in danger to save others. Several carried injured companions despite it slowing their escape. Zarkol dismissed this with a wave. "Irrelevant. Such behavior shows poor survival instinct. It will make conquest easier." Vrakthar wasn't convinced. In his 300 years of military service, he had helped conquer 12 different species. None had shown this particular behavior under first attack. 6 hours passed. The Draconian ultimatum expired. Earth's answer came not as words but as action. Every military base on the planet went to full alert. Civilian evacuations began in major cities. Earth would not surrender. Zarkol ordered the first wave of ground troops to land and secure key locations. "Take prisoners for study," he commanded. "I want to understand these humans before we eliminate them." "Yes, Commander," Vrakthar said. But as he left to prepare the invasion force, A strange feeling troubled him. The humans were physically weaker, technologically primitive, and hopelessly outnumbered. By all logic, they should surrender. Yet they prepared to fight against impossible odds. Perhaps there was more to these humans than their scans had revealed. Major Eric Summers crawled through the mud, his face painted green and brown. 4 soldiers followed behind him in a line. They moved slowly, carefully, making almost no sound. Above them, 3 draconian ships hovered over the forest. The aliens had landed troops in this area 2 days ago. Eric had been hunting them ever since. He raised his fist, and everyone stopped. Through his binoculars, he could see the alien patrol. 6 draconians, each nearly 7 feet tall, walked through the clearing ahead. Their armor gleamed in the early morning light. Each carried a weapon that looked like a cross between a rifle and a spear. Eric studied them. The aliens moved with confidence. Too much confidence. They didn't check the shadows or scan the trees. They acted like they were on a training exercise, not in enemy territory. They think we're weak. Eric whispered to Sergeant Alan Dixon beside him. That's good for us. Alan nodded. What's the plan, sir? Eric pointed to positions around the clearing. The team split up, moving to surround the aliens. This would be their first direct contact with Draconian ground forces. They needed to win. On the Draconian command ship, Commander Vrakthar studied the reports from the ground units. The invasion was proceeding according to plan, but something bothered him. Several patrols had missed their check-ins. Probably communication issues, his aide suggested. The humans have been trying to jam our signals. Vrakthar wasn't convinced. Dispatch a search team to Patrol Zone 17. I want to know what happened to that unit. In the clearing, the Draconian patrol stopped suddenly. The leader held up his hand and sniffed the air. They might look reptilian, but their senses were sharp. Eric gave the signal. 5 shots rang out from different directions. 3 Draconians fell immediately. The others spun around, firing their weapons wildly into the trees. Green energy blasts hit nothing but leaves and branches. Eric's team kept moving after each shot, never staying in one place. It was a hunting technique as old as humanity. Confuse the prey. Make it panic. The alien leader shouted something in their language. The remaining 2 Draconians backed into a defensive circle. Their movements were disciplined but predictable. They had been trained to fight in a certain way, and they didn't adapt when that way didn't work. Eric threw a smoke grenade into the clearing. As thick gray smoke filled the air, he and his team rushed in from all sides. The aliens couldn't see, but they could still hear. They fired toward the sounds, but the humans were already not where the sounds had come from. The fight was over in seconds. Eric stood over the fallen aliens, breathing hard. Not a single human had been hit. Package them up, he ordered. Command wants their weapons and 1 body for study. Elen looked confused. Sir, they're huge compared to us. How did we win so easily? Eric picked up one of the alien weapons. They're stronger and have better tech, but they fight by the book. We don't. At Earth Defense Headquarters, Lieutenant Kate Freeman stared at the alien technology spread across the lab tables. She had been transferred from Mars after the attack, one of the few survivors with direct experience of draconian weapons. What have you found? Captain Harrison asked, entering the lab. Kate held up a small device. Their communication systems are advanced but rigid. They use fixed frequencies, probably because they've never needed to worry about enemies jamming them before. Can we disrupt them? Better, Kate smiled. We can listen in, and maybe even send false orders. Harrison raised his eyebrows. That's not playing fair. They killed hundreds of my friends on Mars, Kate said flatly. I'm not interested in fair. In the Draconian Command Center, Fleet Commander Zarkol received the report about the lost patrol with growing anger. How could primitives with projectile weapons defeat our soldiers? He demanded. Vrakthar displayed the recovered footage from a dead soldier's armor camera. They used the environment against us. Attacked from multiple directions. Never engaged directly. Coward's tactics. Zarkol spat. Effective tactics. Vrakthar corrected, then added quickly, "Sir." Zarkol glared at him. Deploy the Obsidian Guard units. These humans need to learn what real warriors can do. As Vrakthar left to carry out the orders, he reviewed the combat footage again. Something about these humans bothered him deeply. In 12 systems and hundreds of battles, he had never seen a supposedly inferior species adapt so quickly to fighting a superior force. The humans should have been easy to defeat, but they weren't fighting like prey. They were fighting like predators. Dr. Lisa Ward watched the video for the 20th time. On the screen, a captured Draconian soldier performed simple tasks in a controlled room. She made notes on her tablet as the alien stacked blocks according to instructions. "Interesting," she murmured. Captain Harrison entered the observation room. "Found something useful, Doctor?" Lisa nodded without looking away from the screen. "They're incredibly smart and strong, but there's a pattern to how they solve problems. They always follow the most direct approach. When I change the rules mid-task, they struggle to adjust. You think that's a weakness we can use?" "I think it's fundamental to their psychology," Lisa replied. "In 12 hours of testing, our subject has not once tried an unexpected solution. It's like creativity isn't part of their thinking." Outside the city, the Obsidian Guard landed. They were the elite of Draconian warriors, taller and stronger than regular soldiers. Their black armor absorbed light, making them nearly invisible at night. They moved with deadly precision toward the human military base. Sergeant Paul Martinez was on night patrol when his motion sensors started going crazy. He crouched behind a fallen tree and activated his night vision goggles. What he saw made his blood run cold. At least 30 alien shapes moved through the forest. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, like a single organism with many parts. Paul didn't fire. Instead, he sent a silent alert through his communication device. Then he watched and recorded everything the aliens did. The Obsidian Guard reached the outer fence of the base. They formed a perfect line and began cutting through the barrier with energy weapons. Their formation never broke. Each soldier stood exactly the same distance from the others. Paul smiled in the darkness. Captain Harrison had predicted this. The trap was ready. Inside the base, soldiers rushed to defensive positions, but not in the standard way. Harrison had changed all the protocols based on Dr. Ward's research. The aliens breached the fence. They moved forward in precise formation, weapons ready. What they found was an apparently deserted base. No defenders, no resistance. The Obsidian Guard commander signaled his troops to advance cautiously. This wasn't in their intelligence reports. The base should have been full of human soldiers. Suddenly, the ground beneath them erupted. Not with explosions, but with water. Fire hydrants had been placed underground and set to burst at exactly this moment. Water sprayed everywhere, turning the ground to mud in seconds. The perfectly ordered Obsidian Guard formation broke apart as soldiers slipped and struggled to keep their footing. Their heavy armor, an advantage in normal combat, now dragged them down. Then came the sound attack. Speakers hidden around the base blasted a mix of frequencies that the humans had discovered caused pain to Draconian hearing. It wasn't in any alien combat manual because no species had ever tried it before. Only then did the human soldiers attack, not in formation but in small, irregular groups. They wore earplugs and lightweight gear suited for the muddy conditions. They had trained for this specific scenario for days. The Obsidian Guard tried to regroup, to form their practiced defensive positions, but the mud made it impossible. The noise disrupted their communications. For the first time in their history, the elite Draconian unit fell into chaos. On the command ship, Commander Vrakthar watched the disaster unfold through the Obsidian Guard's cameras. Beside him, Fleet Commander Zarkol's face showed shock and rage. "This is impossible," Zarkol growled. "No primitive species has ever defeated the Obsidian Guard." Vrakthar replayed the footage. They didn't fight us. They changed the battlefield to neutralize our advantages. They turned our strengths into weaknesses. Zarkul smashed his fist on the console. I want this human base destroyed from orbit. With respect, sir, Vrakthar said carefully, we should study their tactics first. There is something unusual about these humans. Back at Earth Defense Headquarters, Kate Freeman burst into Harrison's office. Captain, we've intercepted their communications. The aliens are planning an orbital strike on Martinez's base. Harrison didn't panic. He smiled slightly. Right on schedule. Tell Martinez to execute Phase 2. As Kate rushed to relay the orders, Harrison looked at the map displaying alien positions across Earth. For the first time since the invasion began, he felt a glimmer of hope. The humans were learning, adapting, and the Draconians were starting to make mistakes. 6 months into the war, Earth was not conquered. This fact alone stunned the Draconian High Command. Their invasion plans had called for complete planetary control within 1 month. Instead, they held only scattered territories, and every day they lost ground. On the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, John Harrison studied the alien fleet positions on the main screen. The ship had been a regular Navy destroyer before the invasion. Now it carried experimental weapons based on captured Draconian technology. Ready to jump, Captain, said the pilot. John nodded. Execute. The Defiant disappeared from Earth orbit and reappeared behind a Draconian supply ship. Kate Freeman's reverse-engineered jump drive worked perfectly. Before the aliens could react, the Defiant fired its new energy weapons. The supply ship's shields failed, and it drifted helplessly in space. Boarding teams, go, John ordered. This was humanity's first space victory. Small, but important. In Draconian High Command, War Overseer Drakmor had arrived to take control of the failing invasion. He towered over the other Draconians, his skin darker and his eyes burning with cold intensity. Even Zarkul seemed small beside him. Your reports are disturbing, Drakmor said. His voice was deep and slow. How can primitives resist us for so long? Vrakthar stepped forward with data tablets. The humans don't fight like any species we've encountered before, Overseer. They should have surrendered after our technological superiority became clear. Instead, they adapt and overcome. Explain, Drakmor commanded. Vrakthar displayed videos of human combat tactics. They never fight the same way twice. They avoid direct confrontation, where we're strongest. They retreat, then attack from unexpected directions. They prioritize survival over honor. Cowardice, Zarkul muttered. Effectiveness, Drakmor corrected him. Continue, Commander Vrakthar. Most concerning is their psychological resilience. When we destroy their cities, instead of breaking their spirit, they fight harder. They can function in conditions that would break most species. Drakmor was silent for a long moment. I have conquered 37 worlds. None resisted like this. There must be something we're missing. In her lab, Dr. Lisa Ward had made a breakthrough. She rushed into General Susan Clark's office without knocking. Susan had been promoted to lead Earth's military forces last month, after her successful defense of the European front. General, I know why humans are different, Lisa said, breathless with excitement. I've been studying galactic biology records from the captured Draconian database. Most intelligent species evolved either as ambush predators or as prey animals. But humans evolved as persistence hunters. Susan frowned. What does that mean? We're the only known species that hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We can't run as fast as most animals, but we can run longer. We're built for endurance, not just physically but mentally. Susan began to understand. So while most species, including the Draconians, evolve for short bursts of action, we evolved to keep going no matter what, Lisa finished. To adapt, to problem solve on the move, to work together in changing conditions. The Draconians literally can't understand our approach to warfare because it's completely foreign to their evolutionary psychology. At a forward base, Eric Summers trained new recruits in anti-draconian tactics. The soldiers were a mix of military personnel and civilians who had joined the fight. They came from different countries, spoke different languages, but shared a common determination. They expect us to fight conventionally, Eric explained. That's exactly what we won't do. Forget everything you know about fair fights. We use every advantage, every dirty trick, every unexpected approach. A young soldier raised his hand. But sir, they're stronger, faster, and have better weapons. Eric smiled. So did the British in the American Revolution. So did the Russians against the Finns. So did every major power that lost to a smaller but more determined force. History is full of powerful armies defeated by opponents who refused to fight on their terms. In orbit, the Defiant finished loading the captured supplies from the Draconian ship. For the first time, Earth forces had Draconian power cells, medical supplies, and most importantly, data cores. Set course for Earth, John ordered, and send word to General Clark. Tell her Operation Long Run is ready to begin. The human counteroffensive was about to start, and the Draconians had no idea what was coming. War Overseer Drakmor believed in fear. Throughout his long military career, he had broken the will of countless enemies by showing them the price of resistance. Now he applied this same approach to Earth. Destroy their largest city, he ordered from the command ship. Let them see what happens to those who defy the Draconian Empire. The massive warship moved into position above New York City. Its main weapon powered up, glowing with green energy. The beam that shot down was blindingly bright. Buildings melted. The ground shook. When the attack ended, much of Manhattan was gone. Drakmor expected surrender calls within hours. None came. Instead, recruitment for Earth's military forces tripled overnight. People who had stayed neutral now joined the fight. Nations that had fought each other for centuries united against the common enemy. Vrakthar watched the human response with growing concern. Overseer, the attack has strengthened their resolve rather than breaking it. Impossible, Drakmor said. No species fights harder after seeing its weakness. But the evidence was clear. Human resistance was getting stronger and more coordinated. Vrakthar's young protege, Lieutenant Kilrath, studied the data with him. Their behavior defies our military doctrine, Kilrath said quietly. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. Vrakthar looked sharply at his aide. Such talk was dangerous. But he had begun to think the same thing. On Earth, Operation Long Run began. It wasn't a single big attack, but thousands of small ones. Human forces struck Draconian positions worldwide, then disappeared before the aliens could respond. They targeted supply lines, communication centers, and isolated units. Eric Summers led one such mission deep behind enemy lines. His team carried backpacks full of devices Kate Freeman had designed. They weren't weapons, but signal jammers that could disable Draconian communications. Remember, Eric told his team as they approached a major alien base, "We're not here to fight. We're here to blind them." They moved through the night, placing jammers around the base perimeter. When activated, the devices would create a dead zone where no Draconian signals could pass. Inside the base, young Draconian officer Kilrath couldn't sleep. He had been reviewing human military history, trying to understand these strange enemies. What he found disturbed him deeply. Humans had fought thousands of wars against each other. They had developed countless different ways to fight. Unlike Draconians, who had a single perfected style of warfare passed down for generations, humans constantly changed their tactics. Even more strange, humans often celebrated warriors who had lost battles but shown courage. Draconians only honored victory. The alarm jolted Kilrath from his thoughts. The base's communications suddenly went dead. Emergency systems activated, but they too failed moments later. The base was cut off from the fleet. Outside, Eric's team watched as confusion spread through the alien base. Lights flashed in patterns. Draconians rushed about, trying to restore their systems. Phase 1 complete. Eric said into his radio. Begin Phase 2. Across the globe, 300 other teams did the same thing at other Draconian bases. Within hours, the entire alien command structure was in chaos. On the U.S. Defiant, John Harrison received the updates with grim satisfaction. Start the space operation, he ordered. The ship, along with 20 others fitted with the new jump drives, disappeared from Earth orbit. They reappeared at different points around the Draconian fleet, targeting the ships isolated by the communication blackout. Dr. Lisa Ward watched from Earth Defense Headquarters as the reports came in. It's working, she told General Clark. We're not trying to win by direct confrontation. We're using their psychology against them. Susan nodded. Draconians can't function without clear orders and communications. They're paralyzed by uncertainty. Humans thrive on it. As the chaos spread through the Draconian fleet, an unexpected message reached Earth. It came from a small alien ship that had appeared suddenly at the edge of the solar system. People of Earth, the message said, we are the Solavians. We have watched your resistance against the Draconian Empire with great interest. We wish to offer our alliance. General Clark looked at the alien face on the screen. It was nothing like a Draconian. Smaller, with large eyes and delicate features. Why would you help us? She asked. Because, the Solavian replied, you fight in ways the Draconians cannot understand. In 1,000 years, no one has resisted them like this. We believe together we can end their rule forever. The Solavian ambassador stood in Earth's Defense Council chamber. He was short compared to humans, with pale skin that seemed to glow slightly. His large eyes blinked rarely, and his 6-fingered hands moved gracefully as he spoke. We have fought the Draconians for 200 years, he explained. We have superior technology, but lack the physical strength for direct combat. The Draconians have pushed us to the edge of extinction. General Susan Clark studied the alien carefully. And what changed? Why seek alliance now? You, the Solavian said simply. Humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. You adapt. You improvise. You keep fighting when logic says you should surrender. John Harrison, freshly returned from space operations, leaned forward. What exactly are you offering? Technology. Ships. Information about Draconian weaknesses. In return, we ask for your warriors to help defend our remaining worlds. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some argued it could be a trap. Others saw it as their best chance for victory. Susan called for quiet. We need time to discuss your offer, she told the Solavian. But first, we need proof of your sincerity. The alien nodded and pressed a device on his wrist. A holographic display appeared, showing detailed schematics of Draconian warships. Consider this a gesture of good faith. Kate Freeman could barely contain her excitement as she studied the Solavian technology. It was decades beyond human science, yet designed with elegant simplicity. The aliens didn't just have better weapons, they had entirely different approaches to physics and engineering. Their shield technology is amazing, she told Harrison as they walked through the new joint laboratory. And they're willing to install it on our ships immediately. Harrison nodded. But can we trust them? I think we have to, Kate said. Besides, Dr. Ward's psychological assessment suggests they're being truthful. They really do need us as much as we need them. On the Draconian command ship, War Overseer Drakmor received the news of the Solavian alliance with cold fury. Those cowards dared to join with the humans. Prepare the Imperial Armada. We will crush both species at once. Commander Vrakthar and Lieutenant Kilrath exchanged glances. The Imperial Armada was the Draconian Empire's greatest weapon, a fleet of planet killer ships normally held in reserve. Calling it meant the Overseer was truly desperate. Sir, Vrakthar said carefully, perhaps we should study this alliance before attacking. The Solavians have technology that could complicate our strategy. Drakmor turned his 4 yellow eyes on Vrakthar. You question my orders, Commander. I suggest caution, Overseer. The humans have consistently surprised us. With Solavian technology, they will be even more unpredictable. Drakmor's expression darkened. You sound like you admire these primitives. Vrakthar straightened his back. I respect any enemy who fights effectively. That is proper military thinking. Your thinking borders on treason. Drakmor hissed. The order stands. The armada comes. At a training facility in Nevada desert, Eric Summers watched as human soldiers trained alongside Solavian technicians. The aliens couldn't fight physically. They tired quickly and lacked strength. But their technical skills were incredible. They could reprogram draconian systems, hack into their networks, and disrupt their weapons. Try it again, Eric told a young soldier who was learning to use a Solavian energy shield. Remember, it responds to intention as much as movement. The soldier nodded and activated the device. The blue energy field surrounded him. A training drone fired a low-power shot. The shield absorbed it easily. Good, Eric said. Now imagine the shield focusing on your front while still maintaining rear coverage. The blue field shifted, becoming stronger in front while remaining present behind. The soldier grinned. It's like it reads my mind. Close enough, Eric said. Solavian tech interfaces directly with nervous system signals. They build tools that become almost part of the user. On the U.S. Defiant, now upgraded with Solavian technology, John Harrison addressed the combined human-alien crew. The ship looked the same from outside, but internally it had been transformed. Tomorrow we launch the first major offensive against the draconian position on Mars, he said. For the first time, we're not just surviving. We're taking back what's ours. A Solavian engineer raised his hand. Captain, our sensors detect unusual movement in the outer system. Many large ships are arriving through jump points. Harrison checked the display and felt his blood run cold. The ships were massive, larger than any draconian vessels they'd seen before. Alert Earth Command, he ordered. The draconians have called in reinforcements. The true test of the Alliance was about to begin. The Imperial Armada filled Earth's sky with shadows. 50 massive warships, each 10 times larger than the vessels in the first invasion. They moved into position with perfect precision, surrounding the planet in a grid pattern. Smaller ships formed protective screens around the giants. In the emergency command bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Susan Clark reviewed the situation with her staff. The view screens showed the overwhelming draconian force. The Solavian shields are holding, a technician reported, but their weapons are powering up. Susan turned to the Solavian ambassador. You said your technology could help us. Now would be a good time. The ambassador nodded. Our defensive systems will protect your major cities, but we cannot match their offensive power. That is why we needed humans. What's the plan? Eric Summers asked. He had been recalled from the training facility to help coordinate the ground defense if the draconians landed. Susan pointed to a holographic display. Operation Long Hunt. We don't try to destroy the Armada. We make them chase us until they exhaust themselves. On the U.S. Defiant, John Harrison gave final orders to the combined human-Solavian fleet. 100 ships against the Imperial Armada's thousands. The largest forced jump operation in human history was about to begin. Remember, John told his crew, we're not trying to win by firepower. We're fighting a battle of endurance. The Defiant led the fleet in the first jump. They appeared behind the Armada, fired precisely targeted shots at specific systems on 3 massive warships, then jumped away before the Draconians could respond. The damage was minimal, but it forced the enemy to react. In the Draconian flagship, War Overseer Drakmor watched in rage as the human Solavian fleet appeared and disappeared, striking from unexpected angles, never staying in one place long enough to be caught. They are cowards, he roared. They refuse to fight properly. Commander Vrakthar studied the attack pattern. They're drawing us into an extended conflict, sir. Their strategy seems designed to prolong the battle. Why would they want a longer battle? We outnumber them 20 to 1. Before Vrakthar could answer, Lieutenant Kilrath spoke up. "Sir, I've been studying human combat history. They have a concept called guerrilla warfare, where a smaller force defeats a larger one by avoiding direct battles and attacking only when they have temporary advantage." Drakmor glared at the young officer. "And why do you waste time studying primitive warfare?" "To understand our enemy," Kilrath said simply. In her lab on Earth, Kate Freeman worked frantically to complete her newest project. Based on Solavian principles and draconian captured technology, she had created a device that could potentially disrupt the enemy fleet's coordination. "It's ready," she told Dr. Ward, who had been helping with the psychological aspects of the device. "But someone needs to get it close to their command ship." Lisa looked worried. "That's a suicide mission." "Not necessarily," Kate said. "We just need someone who understands draconian ship layouts and security protocols." In his private quarters, Commander Vrakthar made the most difficult decision of his 300-year military career. The humans and Solavians were fighting with honor and courage, despite being outmatched. Meanwhile, Drakmor was demanding the destruction of entire continents to punish Earth's resistance. This was not the warrior code Vrakthar had pledged to uphold. He called Lieutenant Kilrath to his quarters. "What I am about to say could be considered treason," he said quietly, "but I believe the Overseer's actions dishonor the Empire." Kilrath nodded slowly. "The humans fight to protect their world. We fight to destroy it." "I have had similar thoughts, Commander." "The Overseer plans to use the planet-killer weapons on their major population centers tomorrow. Billions will die needlessly." "What can we do?" Kilrath asked. Vrakthar's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Perhaps it is time to speak with the humans directly." As the battle raged across the solar system, the U.S. Defiant received an unexpected transmission on a secure channel. The face that appeared on the bridge screen shocked everyone present. "Captain Harrison," said Commander Vrakthar, "I wish to discuss terms that might end this conflict without further destruction." John stared at the draconian officer. "You're defecting." "I am choosing to uphold the true warrior code of my people," Vrakthar replied with dignity. "And I bring information about the armada that may save your world." Commander Vrakthar stood before the Earth Defense Council. His massive frame made the human chairs look tiny. Lieutenant Kilrath stood beside him, nervous but determined. "The planet-killer weapons are charging," Vrakthar explained. "You have less than 6 hours before they fire." General Susan Clark's face remained calm despite the news. "And why should we trust you?" "Because I have served in 37 conquest campaigns, and I have never seen what I've seen here." Vrakthar's voice carried deep respect. "Humans should have broken months ago. Instead, you fight harder with each defeat. You adapt in ways my people cannot understand." John Harrison studied the draconian defector. "What exactly are you offering?" "Command codes. Shield frequencies. The location of the Armada's one weakness." Vrakthar projected a hologram of the draconian flagship. "The Overseer's ship coordinates all attacks. Disrupt it, and the fleet will fall into confusion." Kate Freeman stepped forward with her device. "This might work. My disruptor could break their command links, but someone would need to get it onto their central communication array." "I will take it," Vrakthar said. "My ship can approach without raising alarms." The council chamber fell silent. Then Eric Summers spoke up. "I'm going to. You'll need backup once they discover what you're doing." In orbit, the Imperial Armada continued its relentless advance. War Overseer Drakmor watched with cruel satisfaction as the planet-killer weapons powered up. Soon, this troublesome world would be reduced to ash. "The humans continue their hit-and-run attacks," an officer reported. "They target our communication arrays specifically." Drakmor dismissed this with a wave. "Let them delay the inevitable. When Commander Vrakthar returns with his patrol, order him to my chamber. His recent behavior requires correction." But Vrakthar was not returning to the fleet. His small ship, with Eric Summers hidden aboard, approached the massive flagship from a maintenance vector. Using his command codes, Vrakthar received clearance to dock at a secondary bay. "Remember," Eric said as they prepared to exit the ship, "we have 20 minutes before Kate's device is ready to activate." The Draconian nodded. "Follow me and stay silent. My authority will get us through most security points." They moved through the giant ship's corridors. Twice they had to hide from patrols. Once Vrakthar had to use his rank to wave away questions from a junior officer. Finally, they'd reached the central communication hub. "Plant the device there." Vrakthar pointed to a glowing column of equipment. "It will affect all command signals." Eric moved quickly to attach Kate's device. Just as he finished, alarms blared throughout the ship. "They've discovered my unauthorized return," Vrakthar said grimly. "We must hold this position until the device activates." On Earth, Kate Freeman tracked the signal from her device. "They're in position. 15 minutes until activation." Susan Clark turned to her communications officer. "Signal all ships. Prepare for the coordinated attack." The human Solavian fleet gathered quietly at the edge of the solar system. Every available ship, crewed by both species working together. They waited for the signal that would begin the final battle. Inside the Draconian flagship, Eric and Vrakthar defended the communication hub against waves of soldiers. Eric's human combat training made him unpredictable, while Vrakthar's strength and knowledge of Draconian tactics proved invaluable. 5 minutes, Eric said, checking the device. On the bridge, War Overseer Drakmor received news of the betrayal with shock. "Commander Vrakthar is helping the humans." Impossible. He ordered all forces to the communication hub. The planet-killer weapons would have to wait. Nothing could be allowed to disrupt the fleet's coordination. The device activated with a pulse of energy that spread throughout the flagship and then to every ship in the Armada. Suddenly, the perfect formation of Draconian vessels began to drift. Communication systems crashed. Chain of command dissolved. "Now," Susan Clark ordered. The combined fleet attacked with everything they had. The Solavians provided the technology. The humans provided the tactics. They didn't target the largest ships, but struck at key support vessels and coordination points. Without central command, the mighty Armada fell into disarray. For the first time, in 1,000 years of conquest, the Draconians faced an enemy who understood their greatest weakness. 3 days later, the Draconian Emperor signed the peace treaty. Earth remained free, and the alliance of humans and Solavians began spreading throughout the galaxy. In the Grand Council chamber of the new Galactic Alliance, Vrakthar addressed representatives from 12 species. "The humans taught us an important lesson," he said. "True strength comes not from power alone, but from adaptability, endurance, and cooperation. They are the most dangerous warriors in the universe, not because they are the strongest, but because they never stop finding new ways to fight, new ways to survive." He looked at Eric, John, Kate, Susan, and Lisa seated among the delegates. And most dangerously of all, they never, ever give up.